delicious book sounds. Okay, so this story is The Golden Crown and the Bode Kessel. So, the golden crown is the crown that Brunhilde dropped when she sailed over the crag in the mountain with the giant's white steed in the last story. So we're going to learn about the golden crown and the Bode Kessel. The legend of the golden crown and the Bode Kessel is connected with the Countess of the Lauenburg. In the days of the Crusades, there dwelt here a fair maiden, the daughter of the Earl von Lauenburg, whose lover, Conrad von Regenstein, was a crusader. Instead of his speedy return came tidings of his fall in the bloody combat. The broken-hearted girl refused all other lovers, and to secure peace and freedom declared she would bestow her hand only on the knight who could rescue Brunhilde's crown from the fearful gulf, the Bode Kessel. The news spread through all the plains of Germany, from the North Sea to the Alps, and the knights and princes flocked to the banks of the Bode Thal to learn the extent of the danger in such an attempt. But no man was ever able to approach the brink of the fearful chasm. The object of the maiden seemed gained, but alas, she knew not what anguish destiny had assigned her. Years had fled, and the Graf von Lauenburg held a fete in his castle. Suddenly, the notes of the warden's horns resounded, proclaiming the arrival of a guest. The young countess looks out of the Gothic window into the court, turns pale, and trembles as her straining eyes gaze upon the entering knight. Yes, she is not deceived. That is the figure, the noble bearing of her lost crusader. "Conrad, my Conrad," she cries, and rushes, frantic with joy, into the arms of her returned lover. "Thou dost yet live. Thou liest not in the cold arms of death." "I live. I am in thy arms." No words more, a long embrace. The aged earl has followed his daughter, and amid their astonishment and joy, Conrad explains how he was severely wounded and taken prisoner, and had not for long years been able to escape. The father leads the happy pair into the great hall, and announces to the assembled guests the betrothal of his daughter and an early wedding day. Many crowd forward to offer their congratulations, but in the background of the hall, one sees a group of knights with furrowed brows. At last, one of the group approaches the earl in the center of the hall and cries, "You are in haste to announce the betrothal and wedding day. Has the Regensteiner then brought up the golden crown, or are you playing with so many nobles? You are surrounded by many who will demand that the bridegroom fulfill the conditions you yourself have named, or they will accuse you of treachery and renounce your allegiance." Applause followed this stern address. The earl, surprised, glanced around the circle and met grim looks and frowning faces. But Conrad raised his high, proud form, struck his sword upon the floor so that the hall rang with the clang, and cried in a voice of thunder, "Who dares speak of treachery to Graf Lauenburg? These conditions were not made in jest or scorn. His knightly word is irreproachable. I will undergo the test, and I will not leave my beloved home until I have redeemed it." Silence and astonishment fill the hall, but the maiden, pale with terror, exclaims, "What? Thou wilt face the terrible, plunge thyself into certain destruction and me into fresh despair?" Conrad reassures her the danger is not so great as it appears, that he is protected by an amulet, a cross made from the true cross of the Savior that has defended him from ocean perils and rescued him from the sword and dungeons of the Saracens, and immediately prepares for the perilous rescue. The day arrived. The Bode was bridged with ice. Hundreds of anxious spectators lined the rocks above. The black flag floated from the Lahnberg and the Regenstein. Extreme unction has been administered in Kloster Wenthusen, and armed with a dagger for the combat with the transformed giant Bodo, and an iron chain to bind him with a look towards heaven, Conrad plunged into the yawning gulf. The waves closed over him and threw him down into their shimmering bosom. A long and anxious silence, then a horrible howl burst forth from the gulf, drowning the roar and hiss of the waterfall, growing every minute louder and more terrible, as if 1,000 wolves were engaged in a death grapple, and the waters rose in mighty billows as if a storm wind raged beneath. Now a ray of sunshine bursts forth, making the colossal rocks glitter like silver towers, and the waterfall like dropping diamonds. Through the pearly foam appears a hand holding the golden crown. The howlings become weaker, and the whispers go round, "He has conquered," and a loud voice rises above the raging waves. "The hell dog lies in chains. The crown and the beloved are mine." Hark! What is that? The terrible howlings begin afresh. The hand trembles and vanishes with the golden crown. Soon all grow fearful, still. Drops of blood arise to the surface. Then a whole stream. The brave crusader never returns. They found the amulet thrown up from the unfathomable depths and carried it to the unhappy maiden, who, without a tear, turned her steps to the holy retreat of the Kloster Wenthusen and was never seen again. Well, that one was quite sad. So hopefully the next one is a bit happier, but it does make me think of the Grimm's fairy tales, and everyone knows the very happy ones, but most of them are quite disturbing, so I guess that's how fairy tales can go sometimes. So not every ending is a happy one, but I hope you enjoyed this night's reading, and let me know if there are any other